Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about a conversation that changed the course of American history. In 1908, I sat across from Andrew Carnegie, the richest man in America, in his magnificent library. He leaned forward, his eyes blazing with intensity, and said something that would haunt me for the next 25 years. Napoleon, what if I told you that there is a secret formula, a psychological principle so powerful that it can transform any person, regardless of their background, education, or circumstances, into a person of extraordinary achievement? What if I told you that this secret is hiding in plain sight, being used by every successful person who has ever lived, yet 95% of humanity will go to their graves never discovering it? I thought he was speaking metaphorically. I was wrong. For the next quarter century, I interviewed over 500 of the most successful people in America: Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Theodore Roosevelt, Alexander Graham Bell, John D. Rockefeller. I analyzed their methods, dissected their strategies, and studied their psychology. And in every single case, without exception, I discovered they all possessed this one secret that Carnegie had promised to reveal. The secret is this: they did not wait to become successful before acting successful. They acted as if they had already achieved their greatest ambitions before they achieved them. Tonight, I stand before you with scientific proof that your future self, the person you dream of becoming, is not trapped in some distant tomorrow. That person exists right now, waiting for you to step into their skin, to think their thoughts, to make their decisions, to live their life. The moment you begin acting as your future self, you set in motion invisible forces that will move heaven and earth to make your external world match your internal reality. This is not philosophy. This is not theory. This is the master key that unlocks the door to any achievement you desire. And by the time you leave this room tonight, you will possess the exact formula that built America's greatest fortunes and created its most remarkable success stories. Through my exhaustive research, I have discovered that success is not accidental. It follows a precise psychological blueprint that I call the invisible architecture of achievement. This architecture consists of 3 foundational elements that every successful person unconsciously constructs, and the most critical of these elements is what I term future self embodiment. Let me illustrate this with the most remarkable case study from my research. In 1910, I met a young man named Charles Schwab, who at the time was earning $25 per week as a laborer in Andrew Carnegie's steel mills. Yet when I observed Schwab, something extraordinary caught my attention. He didn't carry himself like a $25 per week laborer. He walked with the confidence of an executive. He spoke with the authority of a leader. He made decisions with the wisdom of someone who had already achieved greatness. When I asked him about this, Schwab said something that stunned me. "Mr. Hill, I've been studying the executives in this company for months. I watch how they think, how they speak, how they handle problems. And I've decided that if I'm going to become one of them, I need to start acting like one of them right now." Within 18 months, Schwab had been promoted to superintendent. Within 5 years, he was earning $75,000 per year, equivalent to over $2 million today. By 1903, he was president of the entire U.S. Steel Corporation, the largest corporation in the world at that time. Schwab had discovered what I now call the law of psychological precedence, the principle that your external achievements must follow your internal embodiment. He didn't wait for success to give him confidence. He used confidence to create success. He didn't wait for achievement to give him authority. He used authority to create achievement. Now, let me share with you the scientific foundation underlying this phenomenon. The human mind operates through what psychologists call mental projection, the unconscious process by which your internal mental state creates your external reality. When you consistently act as your future self, you activate what I have termed success magnetism, a powerful psychological force that attracts opportunities, resources, and circumstances that are consistent with your demonstrated level of achievement. This is not mysticism. This is measurable psychological law. Your subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your daily behaviors, cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual experiences. When you act as if you have already achieved your goals, your subconscious mind accepts this as reality and begins to automatically produce thoughts, behaviors, and decisions that are consistent with your assumed success. Consider the case of a young woman I studied who dreamed of becoming a renowned physician. Rather than waiting until she completed her medical education, she immediately began conducting herself as if she were already the distinguished doctor she intended to become. She dressed with the professionalism of an established physician. She spoke with the authority of someone who had already saved lives. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had already earned the respect of her peers. The remarkable result was that her professors began treating her differently. They gave her more challenging assignments because they sensed she could handle them. They recommended her for exclusive research opportunities because they saw her as someone who would make good use of them. Her fellow students began coming to her for guidance because they intuitively recognized her leadership qualities. By the time she graduated, she had already established herself as a leader in her field, not because she had more knowledge than her classmates, but because she had conditioned herself to think, act, and perform as if she were already the distinguished physician she intended to become. One of the most powerful applications of future self-embodiment is what I call the mastermind principle in action. When you act as your future self, you naturally begin to associate with people who are consistent with your demonstrated level of achievement. This creates what I term automatic networking, the unconscious attraction of success-oriented individuals who can accelerate your journey toward your goals. Let me share the story of a young entrepreneur I studied who applied this principle with extraordinary results. He had a definite purpose to build a technology company that would revolutionize communication. Rather than waiting until he had achieved this goal, he immediately began acting as if he were already the successful innovator he intended to become. He began attending industry conferences, not as a struggling entrepreneur, but as a confident leader with valuable insights to share. He spoke about his company's future plans with the certainty of someone who had already succeeded. He made decisions based on long-term strategy rather than short-term survival. He treated his small team as if they were part of a major corporation destined for greatness. The result was that established industry leaders began taking notice of him. Investors approached him with funding opportunities. Talented professionals wanted to join his team. Media outlets sought his opinions on industry trends. Within 3 years, he had built the exact company he had envisioned, not because he had superior technical knowledge, but because he had positioned himself in the minds of others as someone who was already successful. The true power of acting as your future self is revealed through what I call the compound effect of consistent character. Just as compound interest multiplies financial investments over time, consistently embodying your future self multiplies your success-producing behaviors and their results. Each day that you act as if you have already achieved your goals, you strengthen the neural pathways in your brain that support successful thinking and behavior. Each successful action you take builds upon the previous ones, creating momentum that becomes increasingly powerful over time. Each time you demonstrate confidence, competence, and achievement, you reinforce your new identity and attract more opportunities to express it. This compound effect explains why some people seem to experience sudden, dramatic success after years of apparent struggle. The truth is that their success was not sudden. It was the cumulative result of consistently acting as their future selves until their external circumstances finally caught up with their internal reality. I witnessed this phenomenon in the life of a young man who came to me with a burning desire to become a successful author. He had no published works, no literary connections, and no formal training in writing. Yet he made a decision that would change his life forever. He would immediately begin acting as if he were already the successful author he intended to become. He established a daily writing routine, just as a professional author would. He joined literary societies and spoke with the authority of someone who had already published significant works. He networked with editors and publishers, not as a hopeful amateur, but as a confident professional with valuable contributions to make. He even rented a small office and called it his writing studio, treating his work with the seriousness of an established author. For 2 years, his external circumstances remained unchanged. He received rejection after rejection. His manuscripts were returned with form letters. His income came from other sources. But he never wavered in his embodiment of his future self. Then, seemingly overnight, everything changed. A publisher accepted his manuscript. Literary agents began seeking him out. Magazine editors requested his articles. Within 6 months, he had become exactly what he had been acting like all along, a successful author. The mechanism by which acting as your future self produces actual results is what I have discovered to be the most powerful force in human psychology. The gradual but permanent transformation of your self-image. Your self-image is the mental picture you hold of yourself, and it is the single most powerful factor in determining your level of achievement. When you consistently act as if you have already succeeded, you engage in what I call identity reconstruction, the process of rebuilding your self-concept from the inside out. This transformation occurs in 3 distinct stages. Stage 1. Conscious adoption. Initially, acting as your future self feels artificial and uncomfortable. You're consciously choosing to behave in ways that don't yet feel natural. This stage requires tremendous willpower and persistence, as your old self-image resists the change. Stage 2. Unconscious integration. As you continue the practice, your new behaviors begin to feel more natural. Your subconscious mind starts to accept your new identity, and you begin to think, speak, and act like a successful person without conscious effort. Stage 3. Authentic embodiment. Finally, your new identity becomes your authentic self. You no longer feel like you're acting successful. You simply are successful. Your external achievements naturally align with your internal reality. One of the most remarkable discoveries from my research is what I call the magnetic power of authentic confidence. When you act as your future self consistently and persistently, you develop a type of confidence that is fundamentally different from mere positive thinking or self-assertion. This is confidence based on demonstrated competence, authority earned through consistent action, and self-assurance rooted in authentic achievement. This authentic confidence creates what I term success magnetism, an invisible but powerful force that attracts people, opportunities, and circumstances that are consistent with your demonstrated level of achievement. People are instinctively drawn to those who demonstrate genuine confidence and competence. They want to do business with you, invest in your ventures, and associate with your success. But this magnetic power extends beyond your interactions with others. When you act as your future self with authentic confidence, you also attract what appear to be lucky breaks and fortunate coincidences. These are not actually luck or coincidence. They're the natural result of your heightened awareness and improved decision-making abilities. Now, let me provide you with the exact formula for implementing this principle in your own life. I call this the Future Self Embodiment formula, and it consists of 7 specific steps that you must follow with scientific precision. Step 1. Create your future self blueprint. Write a detailed description of your future self, including not only what you will have achieved, but also how you will think, feel, speak, and act once you have achieved it. Be specific about your professional achievements, personal qualities, daily habits, income level, lifestyle, and contributions to the world. Step 2. Identify the success behaviors. List the specific behaviors, attitudes, and actions that your future self would demonstrate. How would this person dress? How would they speak? How would they handle challenges? How would they treat others? How would they organize their time? How would they make decisions? Step 3. Begin immediate implementation. Start embodying these behaviors today in whatever situation you find yourself. Do not wait until you feel ready or until circumstances improve. If your future self would arrive at work 30 minutes early, begin doing so immediately. If your future self would dress more professionally, upgrade your wardrobe now. Step 4. Maintain emotional consistency. Acting as your future self is not merely about changing your behaviors. It's about adopting the emotional state of someone who has already achieved their goals. Feel the confidence, satisfaction, and quiet assurance that comes with success. Maintain this emotional state regardless of temporary setbacks or challenges. Step 5. Make decisions from success. When facing any decision, ask yourself, what would my future self do in this situation? Then make that choice, even if it seems premature or ambitious given your current circumstances. Your future self makes decisions based on long-term strategy, not short-term survival. Step 6. Persist through the transformation period. Your external circumstances may not change immediately, but your internal transformation will begin from the very first day. Continue this practice consistently for at least 90 days, regardless of apparent lack of progress. Trust in the invisible forces that are working on your behalf. Step 7. Compound your success. As you begin to see results, use them as evidence to strengthen your conviction. Each small success proves that the principle works, giving you greater confidence to embody your future self even more completely. The final principle I want to share with you is what I call the inevitable law of manifestation. This law states that when you consistently act as your future self with unwavering persistence, your external circumstances must eventually conform to your internal reality. This is not a matter of hope or faith. It is a matter of psychological law. Your thoughts create your reality through the actions they inspire. When you think like your future self, you naturally take actions that your future self would take. When you take actions that your future self would take, you naturally create results that your future self would create. When you create results that your future self would create, you naturally become your future self. This is the secret that Andrew Carnegie promised to reveal to me over a century ago. This is the principle that built America's greatest fortunes and created its most remarkable success stories. This is the master key that unlocks the door to any achievement you desire. My friends, I want to leave you with this profound truth. The person you are destined to become is not trapped in some distant future. That person exists right now, waiting for you to step into their reality. The success you seek is not a destination to reach. It is a decision to make. The achievement you desire is not a reward to earn. It is an identity to embody. Tonight, you have discovered the most powerful success principle ever revealed to humanity. You now possess the exact formula that has created more millionaires, built more fortunes, and transformed more lives than any other single principle in the history of human achievement. The question is not whether this principle works. The question is whether you will work it. I challenge you to make a decision that will change your life forever. I challenge you to choose, right now, to begin acting as your future self. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances improve. Right now, in this very moment. The person you are destined to become is calling to you across time, begging you to step into their shoes, to think their thoughts, to make their decisions, to live their life. Your future self already exists in the realm of possibility. They are successful, confident, and achieving everything you dream of achieving. They are waiting for you to join them, to become them, to make them real in this physical world. The bridge between where you are and where you want to be is not built of circumstances or opportunities. It is built of the decision to act as if you have already arrived. Remember this. You cannot become what you want to be by remaining what you are. You cannot achieve what you want to achieve by doing what you have always done. You cannot create a new future by maintaining old patterns. The moment you begin acting as your future self, you set in motion invisible forces that will move mountains to make your dreams reality. The power is in your hands. The choice is yours to make. The time is now. Your future self is waiting. Step into their reality and watch as the entire universe conspires to make you successful. The master key to all achievement is now yours. Use it wisely. Use it boldly. Use it starting today. Your extraordinary future begins the moment you decide to become extraordinary. That moment is now.